What is up, Hambone here, and I am bringing you another strategies video today, and the topic of today's video is strafing. Now, for those of you that don't know what strafing is more or less a very defensive tactic that prevents you from getting shot or more or less makes you a harder target to hit. Now, there are many different types of strafing in this game that you can do, but I have found just a couple, two in particular, that are the basis of everything that work pretty well. You might be able to do something weird with the cover bouncing in this game, maybe, if you know how to work it like that, but there really isn't much wall bouncing in this game like a lot of cover-based third-person shooters. So, strafing. The most basic strafe I can show you is this. Literally walking left to right. Just taking your stick, moving it left to right. And the way I do it is I have it so I'm walking forward a little bit, but at the same time I'm walking left to right. This is the most basic strafe that you can do, and it can work on someone who I guess isn't that great of a shot or is rushed when they see someone who gets nervous, maybe like, oh, I got to get the kill, and they're like nervous when they take their shots and they're just aiming and they're not really, well, they're shooting at your body more or less and not where you're going to end up at, if that makes sense. So that can work, but it's not that effective. There is a different version of this though that I have found to be a little bit more effective, because it does make your body turn a little bit differently. And that is, it's the same thing, except while you do it, you now do the same thing with your right analog stick. You keep doing the same thing with your left analog stick, moving left to right, but you also move your right analog stick left to right, left to right. And what this does is it causes your character's body to turn while you're moving also, which it does make your character's body become a little bit of a smaller target. Not much so, but it does help a little bit. And this I've actually used before on people, and it does work out a little bit better than the regular strafe. So that's the most basic of options I can give you for strafing. It's pretty good if you're trying to be more or less, you're not comfortable with doing what I'm about to show you, but they're pretty simple to do what I'm about to show you, so don't worry. And the next thing is the sprint strafe. This is probably the most straightforward strafe from the sound of it, but yes, it is a sprint strafe. You simply sprint back and forth doing this, and usually, as long as the player isn't a genius at more or less predicting your strafe, you should be fine when doing this one for avoiding bullets, as long as you're not being fired by a team. Usually a bullet or two will end up hitting you in that situation. But this is simply going back and forth using the sprint button. Very simple, but it is very effective. One thing I will say is that when doing this, don't always, you might get into a groove where you'd be like, oh, I want to go at this angle, and then I want to go at the same angle backwards, same angle backwards, same angle backwards. Don't always go at the same angle when you do your sprint left and right. Make sure that you change it up so you're not just going like this or like this back and forth. Maybe you're doing it like this and you go, oh, maybe go a little bit more linear or straightforward, and go back to the side, a little linear. Then maybe you go linear this way and then off to the side this way. You know, change it up, be not as predictable as you can be. That is the main focus of strafing, is to be unpredictable. So you don't always want to be doing a set pattern. You might have one that you use every game, but make sure that pattern is random to other people than just you. Okay, so make sure that you are unpredictable when you do it. I must make sure that is clear. Strafing is all about being unpredictable and making sure that your opponent doesn't know where to aim at. Now, there is another version of this strafe that I found that works pretty well as well. I think it probably works even better, and that is a sprint strafe crouch. Now, this actually saves your sprint a little bit, so you can sprint longer when doing it, but at the same time, it also makes your body become a harder target. Now, you might ask, why would you do this? Because it makes your character more or less stop at a time. When you're sprinting all around the place and then you're just stopping out of nowhere, what is your opponent's going to do? They're going to be like, oh, I'm getting ready to follow them. Oh, they stop there, go back and aim on them, because they're going to be aiming, you stopped, and then it's like, oh crap, they move back. And as soon as you get ready to aim at them where they stopped, now they're sprinting the other way. So it's like, oh, gotta go the other way. They stop, and they're It's good, really effective because of when stopping, it more or less will cause your opponent's aim, unless they're just exceedingly good at or not exceedingly good, just have extremely fast reaction time. They're going to more or less follow you and keep going without being able to take good aim at you when you crouch. This also makes you a smaller target. So as you can see, I find more often than not that people do tend to aim at the chest and up, and in this situation, the aiming, when you crouch, you end up being below the counter, which means that their aiming point that I find for most people is actually higher than where your body is now. So that's one good reason why I like to do this also. Um, Now I do find it's best to just use this as a defensive tactic to avoid being shot. But you can use it as an offensive tactic to more or less bull rush someone. I would recommend having armor on though if you're going to do that, because when you're still trying to get to someone quickly or doing more or less like a bull rush, you kind of are going to go in a bit of a linear direction, which can cause your opponent to make the aiming on them easier, and it can make you a little bit more easier to predict. So this can be used as an offensive tactic, but that's more or less up to you. I was going to show some gameplay footage, but there is just too much for me to look through for me to actually find just specific situations of me doing each of these. So I'm hoping this explanation of the strafing was good enough. And as always, if you enjoyed the video or found this video to be helpful in any shape or form, be sure to give the video a like. If you like The Last of Us multiplayer content, whether it be just straight up gameplay videos or tactics and tips and stuff like that, like this particular video, be sure to subscribe to my channel, because I do try and post The Last of Us multiplayer content every day. But as always, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.